About 500 years ago, there was a woman named Battista Verona, Saint Battista Verona, an Italian princess, a poor Clare nun. She was a follower of Saint Francis of Assisi. And the Lord came to her and he said to her, if you were never to sin again, and if you were alone to do more penances than all the blesseds in heaven have ever done, and if you were to shed as many tears as would fill all the seas and suffer as many pains as you are capable of suffering, all that would not be enough to thank me for the very least blessing that I bestowed upon you. So, in other words, Mary, the Blessed Mother, the angels, and all the saints, with all of their perfections combined, are not adequate to thank the Lord for one of the least field flowers of the earth. There's this infinite gulf between God's eternal excellence and our nothingness. We owe him so much. We have this unpayable debt of gratitude to try to pay back to him. This is what gratitude is. Gratitude is a debt. It means to be beholden to somebody. It means to be obliged to somebody. That's what gratefulness means. And even though we might not be able to pay back that debt to the Lord, he expects us to show him that gratitude. And that's what we've seen in this story that we heard today from Luke chapter 17 about the 10 lepers that were healed, and only one of them, realizing that he was healed, returned to thank the Lord. You know, you would think that that gratefulness is just, a thing of common decency, right? To give thanks. But only one of these 10 came back. And so it makes you question about how grateful we are as a people. How grateful, you and I are with our time, for example. In this story, it was 90% of those who were healed did not return to say thank you, and this one did. So in your life, how much of your life do you say thank you? Do you spend 90% of your time saying thank you to the Lord, or 10%? If you're spending 10% of your time saying thank you to the Lord, you're probably doing pretty good. I'm guessing most people don't spend 10%. Some of the saints I was reading would even kind of keep track with beads and things. I know one saint I was reading about, he would try to say thank you to the Lord between 400 and 600 times a day. Was pretty much his norm. So, but living these lives of gratitude, what does this look like? How do you do that? I think that all of us want to. We all want to live lives of greater gratitude, of greater thankfulness, but we don't exactly know how. To move away from that 10%, or maybe move up to that 10%, on closer to that 90%, all of our lives should be but that which is lived in gratefulness to the Lord and thankfulness to him. So how do you begin? How do you start? How do you begin living that life of gratefulness? What does that look like? A really helpful, really an easy way to begin is with the Mass. So here in the Mass, this is the place to start growing in gratefulness. The Mass, or the Eucharist, the word Eucharist, we celebrate here on Sunday mornings. It's a Greek word. It means thanksgiving. It's the very purpose of the Mass, is to give thanks to God. And this is a great place to start. So to begin with, it helps to first get to Mass, right? So all of you here have gotten to Mass, which is amazing and beautiful, giving thanks, Lord, in this way. Although I'm guessing that perhaps not everybody who's listening to this online on the St. James podcast might not always be able to get to Mass. And so I would encourage you to do that, to start by getting to Mass, to say thanks to the Lord. There are lots of people in our culture that say, oh, well, I'm just going to worship God from home in private on Sunday mornings. I don't need to go out in public. I'm just going to pray from home. And it's a beautiful and good thing to pray from home. Encourage that. But the historical example of what God expects from his people is outward, in addition to praying at home, is outward and public worship. This is what we see like in the temple with the people of God in the Old Testament, and then also the New Testament, where they gathered together publicly to worship God, to thank God. You know, those 9 healed lepers that were heading on off to go talk to the priest, like Jesus had told them. You know, what do you think Jesus was thinking about them? Was he thinking to himself, oh, well, I bet what they're doing is they're thanking me privately in their hearts? No, that's not what he was thinking. We know what he was thinking. He was thinking, where are the other 9? He expected them to publicly, outwardly, physically return to him and to thank him. So also with the Mass, this is what the Lord expects of us. That's why it's so important to get to Mass and give him this outward and public gratitude and thanksgiving. That is what the Lord expects. And then when you get to the Mass, give him thanks with all of your heart. Some people come to Mass, they just like stand there and they don't really participate too much. They don't sing. Maybe they're afraid. This leper, when he returned to thank, this healed leper, when he returned to thank the Lord, it says that he thanked him with a loud voice. Use your voice to thank the Lord, to show him how grateful you are when you're there at the Mass. Some people say, well, Father, you really don't want me to be singing at your Mass. You wouldn't like it too much. So I'll be honest with you. So sometimes I hear people singing and they're not singing too well maybe. And I think to myself, what is that person doing in my church? No, that's not what I think. So what I think to myself is, here's a person that is like this healed leper, that has humility and is willing to be obedient to what's being asked. Like all throughout Scripture where it says, sing unto the Lord, all the places that I can think of, none of them are requests. Well, if you feel like it, or if you have a good voice, or pretty please. I don't remember any scriptures reading pretty please in about singing. So no, they all say sing unto the Lord. This is an expectation that we're outwardly, with our voice, grateful to God. So sing at the Mass. When I hear someone singing, even if they're not the best, I say this is a person that has humility. This is a person that is willing to be like that 10th healed leper and to stand out from everybody else because he's so grateful for what the Lord has done. So sing in a loud voice. Be like this leper. And it doesn't really matter what anybody else thinks. The only person that matters, what they think of your voice, of your singing, is the Lord. And we know what the Lord is thinking. What he's thinking is, where are the other 9? Why isn't everybody else singing like this? He's grateful for your gratefulness, for the thanks that you are giving to him because of what you've done. So to begin with, if you want to grow in gratefulness and thanks to the Lord, get to Mass. Unless you have a serious reason not to, you're sick, or you got to take care of someone who is. You can't get out of work or something like that. But get to Mass, give thanks to the Lord, and then when you get there, fully thank him. Thank him with your voice. Fully live out physically with your whole body that Mass. Sing unto the Lord. Be like that healed leper. Now at the Mass, the most vital time to say thanks to the Lord, the most important time. If you forget about all the other times, if you don't sing a single song, hopefully sing all the songs, but if you don't do anything else, remember to thank the Lord, especially after you have received Holy Communion. When the Lord is there inside of you, this is a special time, a unique time when the Lord wants to pour so many graces, life-changing graces into you while he's there present with you. If you will just but open your heart and in gratefulness and thanksgiving to him, he can do amazing, amazing things immediately after you've received Holy Communion. Xenophontus Liguori, the great 17th century doctor of the church, he said that one Holy Communion, well received, correctly received, is enough to canonize a person. That means to make that person into a saint. All the graces, everything you need are right there. He said one Holy Communion. He didn't say 50 or 100. One Holy Communion. If you receive that well, if you open your heart to the Lord during that special time. How do you do this? How do you receive the Lord well? How do you open yourself to all these graces that the Lord wants to pour into your life? Look to this healed leper, the one who returned in gratefulness to the Lord. Follow his example. What did he do? It says that when he came near to Jesus, he threw himself down at Jesus' feet. So when you come near to the Lord in Holy Communion, when he's inside of you, this is the time to throw yourself down at his feet, to humble yourself, to recall your past sins, your present imperfections, your tepidness, your lukewarmness, to call these things to mind in humility before the Lord, to commit to being willing to die before committing another deliberate or intentional sin. So you're humbling yourself before the Lord. And then give him thanks. Thank him for being there with you. Thank him for creating you and redeeming you and calling you back to himself. Thank him for being able to be his child, for his love and his care. Be overwhelmed with all that he's done for you. You know, there's nothing that can compare on this side of the grave to truly being open in gratefulness to the Lord and remembering how much he's done for you, how much that you owe him, how much that you're obliged to him. So when you're receiving Holy Communion, humble yourself first, throw yourself down at the Lord's feet, and then open yourself in gratefulness for all that he has done for you. Look to the healed leper. Look to his example of how he shows us how to exemplify gratitude, gratefulness. We owe the Lord big, an unpayable debt that we can never repay. If the Lord expects us to say thank you, to be grateful. So don't be like the 9 lepers who did not return to say thanks, but come to the Lord. Get to Mass, sing, fully participate in the Mass, receive Holy Communion with humility, with gratitude unto the Lord. Psalm 50 verse 4 says, "Whoso offereth me thanks and praise, will I show the salvation of God." Be grateful to the Lord, and you will experience true healing.